it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today I am joining you in a sweater. You know, it might be 70 degrees outside, but it's fall in my heart and it's fall for this video. I even have a little pumpkin here to join us today. But I am going to be chatting through the top books I want to read this fall. As I think it's well established, I'm definitely a big fan of a list. I love a monthly list, I love a seasonal list, especially when it comes to books. Fall and winter are probably my two favorite seasons for reading. I love the atmosphere. It just feels like a perfect companion to fantasy reads. I obviously really love spooky retellings of well-known stories, as well as just adventures that are perfect to escape the chilly weather with. So without further ado, let's chat through the books I hope to read this fall, because there are many. So many books are coming out. I have so many books I want to read. Hopefully I'll be on top of my reading game this season because I'm gonna need it. The first few books on my TBR I'm personally really excited about. They both feel perfect for kind of the October spooky season. Both have amazing atmosphere and they both sort of deal with death, destructions, the undead, all of those things I feel like are perfect for October. The first one is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is a sci-fi fantasy novel about space necromancers. I hear this is a lot of fun, lots of humor, but I feel like necromancers in space is really the thing that sold me here. This follows two primary main characters. The first one is Gideon, who's honestly just kind of interested in leaving her nun life behind. She has been raised to kind of follow a certain set of rules, and she's not interested in continuing her life of servitude, both in life and ultimately when she dies as an undead servant. So she decides to pack up her sword and her dirty magazines and basically just bail. However, her nemesis kind of needs her because she requires Gideon's sword talents to essentially kind of like claim power within this fantasy sci-fi space. They hate each other, but I'm pretty sure they fall in love. Again, this just feels like a really great time. I love the necromancer element, the space element, and I'm hoping that this will also be kind of full of laughs and adventure as well. So yeah, kind of like fun, spooky atmosphere, if you know what I mean? So this is a must read for me in this season. Next definitely leads a little more scary, and that is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This is a horror thriller novel set in a Salem-inspired settlement. Essentially, you follow our main character who basically essentially feels she is full of sin, and she's really just looking to be saved from it. She lives in this small town colony that's essentially a religious cult. There's one individual that kind of runs and decides everything, and there's an inner circle within this. Our main character gets closer to that inner circle because, again, she's interested in saving herself from all of the sin inside of her. Things begin to get tricky when she begins to learn her own family heritage. It is also sort of drawn into the dark wood that surrounds the town, and there enters witches. So I think this has like religious cult elements, witchy elements, probably murder and intrigue elements as well. It sounds dark and very gripping. This is what I might need to read during the daytime because I am absolutely a scaredy cat, but I've heard excellent things about this. I feel like it's gonna have the perfect October atmosphere, so this of course is on my fall TBR. Next is a book I'm actually currently reading, but I feel like is perfect for the fall season, honestly anytime. But you know, fall adds extra ambiance, and that is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is a fantasy story set in the city of Kikan, which is essentially ruled and controlled by two main like mob-esque families. Our primary characters and a lot of the different perspectives we encounter in this story all come from one family, the Cows. And essentially this book sort of opens on this dramatic theater of a bunch of players kind of basically trying to control and maintain power. But also there is a bunch of conflict brewing because there has been a shaky peace for a many number of years, but due to some changes in power, that's kind of all up in the air. So we follow a lot of individuals within this mob family that are trying to kind of figure out what their rivals are doing and also ensure that they don't lose to their rivals. This is also combined with the fact that there is a new drug that's entering the city, which allows kind of a normal person to harness the power of Jade, which is sort of the magical component in this world. Jade, for certain individuals that come from a bloodline, are able to harness its power to become like faster, stronger, more powerful, and is how the gangs within this city essentially maintain their control. This is a story that is so fast-paced. It's absolutely fascinating. It has the drama of all these familial connections. It has the action of a true fantasy story, and it has this really interesting backdrop of this sort of conflicting families at war with international intrigue as well. It's so good and just an absolute page turner. I'm really liking it, and definitely one I will be finishing this fall, as well as maybe even picking up the sequel. From there, I honestly am kind of in the mood for some romance. I'm not gonna lie, I read a lot of romance in the spring and I've kind of taken a break through the summer, but it's back. I want to read some more romance, but I kind of want to read fantasy-centered romance. So the first book that's on my TBR is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a true romance novel set in a fantasy setting. It has all these wonderful fantasy tropes that are just deliciously fun to encounter in a romance scenario. And I'm honestly excited to read a book which I imagine is going to be mostly romance and the angst with just kind of like a background of court politics and things, which is going to be just a grand old time. I've heard really good things about this. We essentially follow a maiden who's had to live this like sort of solitary existence. She's like important politically. We follow a soldier whose whole life duty is to protect this maiden. Obviously, a forbidden romance is going to be happening there. And then a kingdom destined to tear these two people apart. Angst, drama, fantasy setting, say no more. This just sounds like it's gonna be so much fun and I can't wait. And just like something to kind of like distract me and kind of break up some of the more intense fantasy books I have been reading lately. This just seems like it's going to be the drama I am looking for. Next book that's on my list is one that I've owned for a while and it's kind of been on like the back burner of my TBR, but I've seen some people recently pick it up, which has really intrigued me. And there's also a TV show which I kind of want to check out, I'm not gonna lie, and that is A Discovery of Witches. I feel like this book is generally very popular, but I actually haven't seen a lot of people talk about it on BookTube, at least I don't think I have. But this is an adult contemporary fantasy novel, I think I would describe it as, and we essentially follow what I think is a witch and a vampire, and I think that has this sort of forbidden romance. I think it also has an academia setting, as I think they're both like studying and they're supposed to be like staying away from each other. They should not be together, hence the forbidden romance aspect. So yeah, I'm hoping this is just sort of an angsty, entertaining, slow burn romance kind of set in the backdrop of Europe, has a lots of research and possibly a thriller element. I hear this is kind of slow, but I think it might have a nice build up. And I also hear the romance is like a little dramatic, but again, I sometimes really love a little dramatic of a romance, one that makes you really work for it and makes you want to scream at them. Sometimes I find that to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I actually own this and the sequel, so I thought I would maybe try to check this out this fall. Plus, I mean, even the cover feels very fall vibes. I want to discover some witches, so just seems like it could be a good time. Next is a book I have been saying I want to read for forever, and I added it in my August TBR and then jokingly mentioned that I should read it in October, and then it became not a joke and I realized that's definitely when I should read this book. That is Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. This is a weird sort of God, sort of not God-centric story following two siblings that are sort of ascending to some sort of power. One is named Roger and he has a gift for languages. He instinctively knows how the world works through the power of a story. And we also follow Dodger, who is his twin, and she is really good with numbers. So she sees everything through like the world of math. And it is said that Roger and Dodger aren't exactly human, though they don't realize it yet. They aren't exactly gods either. Not entirely, not yet. It has to do with alchemy, it maybe has dark academia vibes, which I'm always down for. It sounds weird and peculiar. I love the synopsis, I've heard great things, and even the cover screams very fall to me, so yeah. I was gonna read it earlier and then I realized that in fact I should read this fall, so hence it being on the TBR. And the last two books I'm gonna chat about are two important fantasy novels I definitely plan to start this fall. It's very important to me that I read both of these books, so definitely get after me if I don't. The first one is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is book 1 to the Wheel of Time series. This is a series I have long wanted to start and it feels just like the time. You know, I feel like I've caught up on a lot of things, and granted I feel like I'm rereading everything now, so I'm not quite so caught up anymore. That being said, the TV show is being worked on and I just want to be part of the fandom in the world, and maybe we can just like chat about it together. We'll see. I'm actually a little wary. I'm worried this is going to be maybe a little boring, but you know, only one way to find out. But this is the first book to the Wheel of Time series. It's a very long epic fantasy series, which honestly also appeals to me because it's finished, which, you know, is a rarity nowadays. But yeah, I just feel like it's time. I'm gonna pick this up. I don't know really anything about it. I'm sure it has to do with quests, adventures, characters, magic, betrayal, all of that. And I'm excited to find out. The last book I'm going to chat about is a very important reread, and that is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I am trying to reread all 3 of these books that are out currently within the Stormlight Archives before the 4th book comes out at the end of November. I don't know, it's one of my favorite series of all time, and while I definitely remember a lot, I feel like I've also forgotten a lot, and I just want everything to be top of mind for the new release. Also, it's just so excellent. I just feel like it's going to be so much fun to reread. But this is the first book to another epically long fantasy series that's going to be probably like 12 books or something along those lines. This is a multi-perspective fantasy series where it's kind of set in a world where there's been endless war. You follow a lot of different POVs throughout the entire book series, and each book kind of focuses on one central character, which is really great. But for this first one, you really just kind of focus on a few set of main characters. One is a soldier who's now part of this Bridgeman Brigade, and he's kind of like serving his time as a lowly soldier. You follow a prince who's sort of discovering and remembering elements of his past. You follow a liar who is essentially a spy who's getting involved in this academic area and study within this world to basically get information for her family so they don't go to economic ruin. And lastly, you follow an assassin who the synopsis says cries as he kills, which essentially is because he's been contracted out to individuals that he does not believe or trust, but he has to do what they say based off of the workings of his contract. This is an excellent series. It's my far and away my favorite fantasy series. I'm so pumped for the 4th one, so I just felt like it only was right to reread the first one and just kind of like re-encounter everyone. I need everything to be fresh, to it be the best experience possible. So yes. Alrighty guys, those are the top books I hope to read this fall. Let me know down below some books you hope to get to this season, as I would love to know and are constantly looking for recommendations. But anyway, I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye.